Exporting. What is export and why do we need it? Let me explain. While we are working in Lightroom, we see the results of any changes or adjustments that we make to the image. But these changes are never applied to the original image, as this is non-destructive editing. The changes only exist in the catalogue as metadata instructions. Now Lightroom puts them together for us so we can view and see any changes, but only while we're in Lightroom. Now let's see that in action. So here we've got this image that I'm going to be working on. Now if I just minimise Lightroom, you'll see that it's in this folder and there's the original image, and it's exactly the same as what we can see in Lightroom. Okay. So now let's make some changes. We'll drop the exposure a little bit. We'll bring the shadows to lighten those shadows a little bit. We'll drop the clarity just to soften it a little bit. And we'll drop the vibrance. Let's say I really see this being a muted sort of look image. In fact, let's try go the other way. We'll try a bit, oh that's better. Yeah, more of a HDR look. We'll try a little bit of clarity. So now we've made all these changes and they are visible. But let's go back and have a look on the desktop and we'll see that it's still the original image. None of those changes have been saved. Okay. So what do we do if we want to send somebody this version of the image? Well, to do that we use export. Now export creates a new version of the image by taking a copy of the original, adding to it all the adjustments that are stored in the catalogue and creating a brand new image which we can save. Now let's have a look at how that works. We need then to export this image. So we're going to go over to the File menu and we're going to select Export. And we're going to get, I'll just move it down so we can see it, we're going to get the export dialog, which is quite big. So shuffle it up a bit, there we go. And what we're doing, we'll work top to bottom on this. So firstly, export to. Where do we want to send it to? We've got some options. We can send it to email, hard drive, DVD, or if you've got any third-party applications, you could export to one of those. For this, we'll just click on the hard drive. Now we're just going to go down these one at a time. So little triangle here, if we click on it, this is the export location area. And this is where we're going to decide where do we want to put the image. So export to, well, I'm going to export to a specific folder. I'm then going to choose the folder. So I'm going to choose and we'll put this on the desktop. So I'm going to select that. So now I've said, right, we're going to put it on the desktop. Do I want a subfolder? Well, no, I'll not bother putting it in a subfolder. I'll just leave it onto the desktop. And then existing files, ask what to do. We'll leave that as it is. Next one, file naming. Do I want to rename the files when we're exporting? You can do, but in this occasion, I'm not going to. It's not a video, so we're not going to get involved in anything in there. File settings. Okay, this is the image format. Do we want it to be a JPEG, PSD, TIFF, DNG, or the original? For this, we'll leave it as a JPEG. The quality, I'll leave it at 100%. And then we can set the colour space. Do we want sRGB, Adobe, ProPhoto, or some other one? This is for viewing on a screen, so we'll leave it set to sRGB. Image sizing. Okay, do we want to resize it? Well, yeah. And we'll resize it on the long edge. So, and I'll just put in there 800 pixels and a resolution of 72 pixels. And what this will do is it will look at the longest edge and set that to 800, and then it will set the other edge dependent on what the aspect ratio is. Okay, output sharpening. Do we want to sharpen? Well, yeah, I'll sharpen it for screen and I'll set the amount to standard. I tend to find that if you select low, you hardly get any sharpening, and if you set it on high, it tends to be too much. So I'm just going to leave that set for standard. Metadata, what do we want to do? Well, I'll leave it set to all metadata embedded. Don't want to remove the location info, which would remove any location information. Watermarking, do we want to watermark? Well, in this occasion, no. Post-processing, do we want to do anything after we've finished the export? No, I just want to leave it on the desktop. So after you've done all that, we can just click the export button and it'll export this one image. But we might want to do this over and over again on other images. So what we can do is we can save out all these settings as a preset, and we can use it again and again just with one click. So to do that, I'm going to click on Add, and I'll call this Test Preset 2 because I can see I've already got a test preset. We'll save it in User Presets and we'll click Create, and there it is. That's all saved, ready to use another time. So now let's just export this one image. So I'm going to click then on the export button and off it goes, and it's done. So now let's minimize Lightroom again, and we can see here, if we scroll down to it, that we've still got the original image. But now if I go and find this on the desktop, if I bring this over and we'll see if we can drop it in there, then we should have both versions. Okay, they're not next to each other. Let me see if I can move that. No, it won't. So we've now got both versions of that image. We've got the original version, which has not been changed, and we've got the version that we exported, which is like the HDR type look. So there we are, exporting images using an export preset out of Lightroom.